Hey everyone, I'm Jean-Claude BeyondMystic, and welcome to this Precious Metals Weekend Review with Mr. Andy SCHECTMAN. You can find his work, of course, at milesfranklin.com. Andy, welcome back to the show, man.
JC, for goodness sake, brother, it's been way too long. It's so nice to see you. It's great to be back. You're looking as good as usual, and happy holidays to you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. But judging by the lighting, you seem to have a little bit more sun kiss on your skin than I do there. I'm getting white.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you're way up north. I used to be there. I swear I had vitamin D deficiency living in Minnesota.
Yeah.
You know, I always used to try to tell myself that it made me tough living up in the great northern, the northern part of the United States. And but I'll tell you, after spending a few months in Florida, especially the minute it hits October, it's like bang. The weather goes from being the surface of the sun to absolutely spectacular, 75, 80 degrees all day. And
okay, now you're making me jealous.
Nice to be outside.
I shoveled like 2 hours yesterday, this huge fucking thick wet snow, and we had power outages because all the wires were heavy, weighing heavy. And
you know what? I love that though, man. I truly did. I love snowing and shoveling and skiing and snowmobiling, and there's something cool about it. I love it. It's it gets come January, February, it starts to get a little old, but you know what? It makes you tough anyway.
I mean, if you have a guy that does your snow and all that, then it's okay. I'm just a working guy here.
That was a way for me to get out of the house, put on my headphones, and I had the prettiest driveway in the neighborhood. There wasn't a drop of snow on it. I got to go outside and snow blow again. You guys do your.
That's fun. Yeah, a good way to clear your head. Hey, let's do a quick update. You and I have a few kind of cool topics to share with the audience today. We haven't really talked about these before, but we'll see how it all ties into what's happening now. But in the last couple of weeks, you haven't been on. What's the I guess the flow of demand going through Miles Franklin right now? Are things settling up? Are you guys catching up to all the craziness? Like, where are you guys now with demand and supply?
Well, typically, this is the time of the year where things do slow down a little bit. You have people traveling to see family, you have Thanksgiving, you have Christmas, you have preparations, you have, people are, especially this year, I think people are just looking for a little semblance of normality. And so it has slowed down a little bit. We haven't seen the craziness that we've seen over the past 10 months. But that, I guess, is in context. I mean, it's still 4 or 5x from anything we've ever seen. It's just not the 8 or 9x that we saw earlier in the year. And I expect to see more of the craziness that has defined the last 2 years in this industry after the holidays. And I don't blame people. I mean, it seems like the world is spinning so fast, and it's nice to just chill, and stop thinking about finances and economics and craziness everywhere we turn, and try to focus on family and holidays and good things in life. So
just being merry and having fun a little bit. It's crazy.
And it's as normal as that sounds, I think it's been hard to do, JC. It's been really hard to do over the last 2 years, and all the things that have come along with the pandemic, the unintended consequences of it have been extreme for so many of us, that for all of us in different ways, that I applaud people who just tune out for a little bit. It's hard for me. I try. It's my greatest challenge in life, is to find that balance. So
me too.
When it was Thanksgiving, I know you're in Canada, always falls on the third Thursday in November, and I was so excited for that Thursday, Friday, just so I could unplug and actually have an excuse why I didn't call people back. And that's the world is spinning out of control, and I think it's important that people have a reality check once in a while and just sit back and enjoy and be thankful for what we do have in our family and health and whatnot. So but don't be confused by that. It's still insanity.
Well, that's where I was getting at. You said like, okay, it's not 9x, but it's still 4 or 5x. That's not normal. So there's still a lot of craziness. And the last time I had Bill Holter on too, he was explaining this phenomenon. Maybe you can speak to whether or not that's still in your field of view. But he was explaining this phenomenon where, as a broker, he would make this deal. He would, secure the metal, and people would tell him, okay, right away, where do I send the money? Like they're in a rush to get rid of this paper all of a sudden, where that was never the case before. You would have a week or two, you do your wire transfers, and nobody would be stressing. But right now, people are stressed to get rid of money. Are you still seeing that? And you want to explain that to the audience?
Billy is one of my best friends, and he clears everything through my company, so we talk about it a lot. The one common thread, and I've said this to people recently, that I hear, if there was one, it is exactly that. I don't want to leave my money in the bank. I don't want to leave my money in the bank. I don't want to leave my money in the bank. And it's one of certainly one that people want to move yesterday. Also, they want to receive their product yesterday too. I think what that underscores is there is a lot of concern that the shoe's going to drop somewhere, and the systemic connection between everything these days. If one shoe drops, does it mean the whole closet drops? And I think that's kind of what Bill is getting at, and kind of what the people I talk to are getting at, is that, maybe in one respect, they think we're living on borrowed time until something else happens. And they don't want to be in the middle of a transaction with money still in the bank or product still on its way. And I get that. I feel the same way to an extent. I think a lot of people are waiting for another shoe to drop.
I was speaking to a friend this morning who was he's kind of new to all of this, and he wants to get his hands on some physical, maybe also some crypto. And he was explaining this whole process. And I'm like, because he was like, well, when's this going to happen? Do I have time? I'm like, well, that's not the right question. The right question is, do you rather be early, or do you want to be 1 day late? Because once you're 1 day late, like, you're effed. And this is what's happening right now is all the crazy in the world. We're always on that verge of, maybe I'm 1 day late, and then what? Then your entry price is tripled or quadrupled what it was yesterday. Who knows? Right?
I'm the little boy who cried wolf. For sure. The book was written about me. The little boy has to be named Andy. But the wolf comes at the end of the story. And I am classically early. And I'm early because I base my conclusions not willy-nilly. I base them upon mathematics and economics with some sprinkling of logic on top of it. And in the end, those things always pan out. In fact, JC, when I look back at everything we've talked about for 31 years as a company, we started writing a newsletter in 1990 and talking about economics and what we thought would happen. And I'm proud to say literally almost every one of them has come true, but in many cases, years early. And that's because the powers that be are very adept at variables, throwing variables into the equation. But again, when you deal with mathematics and economics and logic, you get caught. Mother Nature will catch you. It's just a matter of how and when. And I think that's part of the problem that we're seeing in this country right now, is a lot of it centered around mathematics. The mathematics of what we are doing, the consequences of what we are doing will be paid back, will catch us. Mother Nature will have her way before this is all said and done. The question is, what is the catalyst? How severe is it? Will there be any advance notice? Who knows? But I will tell you that it's almost nearly impossible, just like it is to outrun Father Time. It's impossible to outrun Mother Mathematics. She'll catch you. And
karma's a bitch when it does.
Well, and I think that's just really the truth of it. And so, for what it's worth, I think there are a lot of people who are beginning to realize that. A lot of people. And we'll talk more about that as we go through the show here. But
you just mentioned catalysts. I have a few on the slide deck to talk about today. But before we get to those catalysts of what might be occurring this month here, because there's a lot on the radar from everybody who's looking at this. You were mentioning before the show too, you wanted to develop the idea here of what you're seeing in terms of insider trading, and how maybe that is also important to look at here as we step back to see, okay, where's this big picture going, and how do I navigate all of this stuff? So I'll give you the mic here to break that down for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when you talk about insider selling, you have first of all, let's set the stage. You have record margin debt, record call option volume, record net futures positioning, record leveraged ETFs. You have the most leverage really ever witnessed. And to me, what defines this is the fact that you have the corporate executives, the smart money and the insiders are selling at the fastest pace in history. You had the CEO of Microsoft sell 50% of his stocks, 50. You had Elon Musk sell 10 billion of his stock. And, you know, there's an old statement, and I think that, first of all, it's important to understand that the insiders are taking the other side of this selling. That's the most important thing to understand. And the insiders are always ahead of the game. And I think when there's an old statement from John Templeton, and he says, when you find that the crowd is enthusiastically trying to buy, you help them out and sell. And it usually works out. In other words, you have the smart money selling, and you have the crowd running into the market at the fastest pace ever. If you look at what the Flow Show report that came out a week or two ago from Bank of America, it's crazy. It said that $900 billion in inflow went into U.S. equities in 2021. That is $100 billion more than the combined 19 years previous. You got nearly 20 years worth of inflow into the U.S. stock market this year. And if that doesn't tell you, when you see the insider selling, when you see record margin debt, record speculation, and 20 years worth of inflows into the stock market in 1 year, if that doesn't tell you something, I don't know what will. And, you know, you have the rich getting exponentially richer right now, where the top 1% of the country, the top 1% of the wealth in this country owns almost 35% of all net worth in the United States. And meanwhile, the bottom 50% only owns 2.3%. So the poor are getting poorer because the cost of living in terms of energy and food and housing, wait, those three things aren't counted on the CPI, are they?
No, not even close.
They don't matter, right? Yeah. But go to a grocery store and buy a couple of steaks, buy some berries and whatever, you're well over $100. The cost to fill up your car or heat your home is exponentially higher. Your home is exponentially higher. But if you own assets, you don't care. If you don't own assets, just putting food on the table, getting to work and back and heating your house is the most expensive it's ever been. So the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, and the insiders who have made all this money, courtesy of the Federal Reserve, who has made money easy, interest rates low, they borrow money, pour it into the market, jack up the price, make huge bonuses, cover their 2% loan, and move on. And all of this money that's pouring into the equities, 20 years worth this year, that's the mathematics I'm talking about. That cannot end well. Even if you don't prick a hole in the bubble, if you just stop blowing that kind of air, you know, you got this nonsense that they're going to taper. They're not going to taper. But right. Even if you just stop blowing into the bubble, into the balloon a little bit, it will start to deflate under its own pressure. So I find it very ominous that you have all of this massive speculation, leverage, and debt, coupled with record inside selling and massive amounts of money being poured into the market. In other words, to me, what is happening, JC, is that the powers that be are destroying the currency in favor of the equity markets. How long can it last? God only knows. But I don't see it ending well. And I just want people to understand that when I come on your show and talk about the virtues of buying metal, it is not to get rich. It is to protect your ass. Yeah. It is wealth. It's wealth. It's not an investment. It's been wealth for 5,000 years. And even though it's performing counterintuitively right now, I will tell you that is by design. The playbook, the cartel playbook for the past 20 years has been counterintuitive price action. It allows them to misdirect the public into the over-leveraged equity markets, herd them all into the markets. Don't look here. It's not performing the way it's supposed to. And at the same time, you have record buying by the central banks, by the sovereign wealth funds, by the commercial banks. They're all gobbling it up at subsidized prices. They understand how important it is, and they're misdirecting the public exactly where they shouldn't be and saying, don't look here, you don't want anything to do with this.
Well, let's talk. So you mentioned the inflows here and all of the insider selling. I think that's an important point, but let's talk about the outflows now at COMEX and the LBMA. What's going on there recently since our last talk? Are we still seeing these massive numbers and percentage-wise of people standing for delivery? What can you say about that to the audience here to kind of gauge as to what the smart money is actually doing behind the scene when they're in fact saying that gold and silver are hit rocks here? What are they doing behind the scenes?
I haven't seen the December numbers. December is traditionally a very big delivery month. And as we talked before, and I haven't seen what this trader has done, but there's one trader that had 4 million ounces of gold December contracts. We'll see if he takes possession. This is this managed money group called the Others.
The Others category.
You know, $7.5 billion worth of gold that he was controlling for December delivery. We'll see what happens. But I will tell you that in general, yes, this has been, for the last 2 years, it has marked, to my mind, it is one of the top 2 or 3 biggest things that I've ever seen in 30 years is the amount of offtake off the COMEX over the last 2 years. And this year's been the exact same thing. Here again, it's the no-look pass in basketball. It's in football. You fake the handoff. Everyone moves this way, but there's one receiver way over there in the corner that is misdirecting. You're misdirecting everyone to the wrong part of the field. And this is exactly what is happening. Big money is using the price and the levered futures prices to misdirect the public, while the smart money is taking possession. And I will tell you that in my mind, this is one of the Achilles heels to the cartel, is that these others, these sovereign wealth funds, these family offices and managed money traders are standing for delivery. It is the one departure from what has normally been a market that never stands for delivery. And the big money was able to push the market around because no one ever stood for delivery. It's like when you play poker. You got the biggest chip stack can say, I'm all in, I'm all in, I'm all in, and everyone folds because they know their game's over the minute they make the wrong call. But you have someone at the end of the table saying, I call,
fucker.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And that is what is different than years past. And they have enough money to deal with margin calls and to deal with a smash down in price that would normally make most of the people who go long on COMEX capitulate and cover because they figure it's going to bankrupt me. Yeah. These entities that are standing for delivery, just to buy 40,000 December contracts for 4 million ounces of gold would require an initial margin deposit north of $350 million. This is real money. These are people who aren't afraid to play ball. So I think people have to really listen to what I'm saying, this one statement. And I, honest to God, this is not trying to be a salesman. I truly believe that misdirection is incredibly pervasive, and the big money uses price as the ultimate tool of misdirection. You know, I talk a lot about the book, The Art of War. This is a book that has meant an awful lot to me. It's a book that's taught in every major business school on corporate hierarchy. It's taught in law school on formulating arguments. It's mandatory reading at West Point and at the CIA, and most Japanese business executives have to read it. It's about how to beat your opponent without throwing a punch. And I will tell you that misdirection is incredibly pervasive in any game you've ever played. You try to misdirect your opponent, and the same thing is true in high levels of business. When you can see JP Morgan manipulate the hell out of the price and accumulate 1.1 billion ounces of silver, 11 times what the Hunt brothers tried to buy, and close to 40 million ounces of gold, while using the levered paper price to misdirect everyone, so much so that they paid what amounts to a slap on the wrist, a $920 million fine to the Justice Department. Misdirection is everywhere. And I think that is exactly what is happening. I really do believe at some point, don't know when, we'll wake up on a Monday morning to a new reality. And it will be some seminal event where we wake up and price has been readjusted. And
I believe, Andy, I'm with you on that. And I believe I probably just tweaked that statement to say it's possible the event has already happened. We just haven't heard about it yet. So yes, we would wake up on a Monday, but not from an event that happened the Sunday night, but something that perhaps even happened 3 or 4 months ago, including this new deal between Saudi Arabia and
That's
Russia.
the biggest deal between and Saudi Arabia has struck that same deal with Nigeria and with India as well. And so you have them striking military cooperation deals, and with Saudi Arabia, it's the biggest deal ever, because that is what has given the dollar its hegemony status, its world reserve status in '74, the protection of the Saudi kingdom. To do it with Nigeria, which is another massive OPEC producing country, is huge. And then you see the relationship between the United States and Russia. They're growing very tired of us, I'm sure. And if we impose the sanctions that they're talking about, I think things will only get worse. And so I guess the bottom line is, I do agree. I've said for a long time, that may be number one. It's either that or the reclassification of gold as Tier 1 reserve are the two biggest events in my career. Of course, our media doesn't talk about it at all, but I would agree with you. It's like a game of chess, and the insiders are positioning themselves for some event. When you see Putin come out and say, we have more in the way of gold than we do in dollars, they are de-dollarizing their reserves for the first time in God knows how long. They have more gold than they do US dollars. He's telling you that a black swan event is coming. When you see all of the world's central banks massively accumulate gold, they are telling you a black swan event is coming. When you see gold reclassified as a Tier 1 reserve asset, the IMF is telling you that a black swan event is coming. When you see family offices and sovereign wealth funds load up on billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of gold and silver and take possession, a black swan event is coming. Now, I don't know what that is, but I do know that the biggest money in the world does not give a crap about the price of gold and silver. In fact, they are happy to see it suppressed because it allows them to get more of it without every one of us listening to this show and everyone else out there in the ether competing for the same pieces of gold and silver that they're trying to get.
Right.
It's classic misdirection. And sometimes you have to take a step back and listen to your gut and your heart, not your lying eyes. And because your eyes are going to tell you, well, why isn't it performing? If it isn't doing it now, when is it? And if it weren't for what I see with the massive acquisition by the biggest and most sophisticated money in the world, I might agree with that. But they are doing exactly, their actions betray their rhetoric. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah, it's a big telltale sign. As long as you have the eyes to see it, as you say here, and follow your instinct, because do as I say, not what I do here.
Right.
Let's talk about, I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I know some of this information might be proprietary in the extent of the trail call services that you and I kind of follow in and around here. But what we're seeing here, there's a big drop in crypto on December 4th here. There's gyrations happening, everything. There's probably some World Trade settlement happening also in crypto, and now there's the stress happening with Evergrande bonds as well here. So there's a lot happening here. But in the same time as I'm seeing that, I'm hearing a lot of our people in this sphere now positioning themselves. They're seeing something coming up in the stratosphere as the Black Swan event that you just discussed, and they're in the mood right now to take some profits from crypto and get into physical gold and silver. Again, without betraying some of these proprietary trade calls here, what can you tell to the audience here of what seems to be the general consensus here with respect to making that move here to take profits and to get into physical?
There are a lot of people who have told me that they expect some sort of an event. And what that event is, I have no idea. It isn't just centered around cryptocurrency. Of course, that's what you're talking about. It's bigger than that. It could be related to equities or a reset or whatnot. But if I had to guess, there are a lot of people who believe that there will be an effort to through some sort of government edict to, I believe, regulate much more extensively the crypto sphere. And I think people need to understand that profit's not a 4-letter word. And I think the big money in that sphere is beginning to understand that. You know, we all have heard stories about people who have made a tremendous amount of money in a market and ridden it back down.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important for a lot of people to witness that profit. Now, if you've made a gazillion dollars in cryptocurrency, as a lot of people have, and I applaud their courage to have jumped in to something that was unknown and do really well in it, and to learn it, and to become proficient in it. I applaud it. But I also think that a lot of these people are saying, my God, I've made so much money in this area, I need to cash out and take some profit. The reason they're talking to me is, there are very few asset classes on the planet right now that are not at all-time highs.
That has very little or no counterparty risk. That's
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Gold and silver are really the only assets around that, to my mind, that have no counterparty risk whatsoever.
Right.
And I think counterparty risk will be in many ways a defining term in the years ahead. Look at Evergrande. Counterparty risk is a big deal. And so when you talk about what's happening in the crypto sphere, without betraying some fairly private conversations I've had, I will tell you that there are a lot of people who are expecting an event.
Mm-hmm.
And almost everyone I talk to talks about this event happening somewhere between December and January. I don't know what that event is. Maybe it's the government coming out and trying to do something about what I guess people would call the Wild West. I don't know. But I guess I will just simply say to people that, I've told this story before. Every year when my family was young, friends of ours had a young family, and we would go on trips all the time. And one of the people I would travel with, fathers, a guy my age, we would always find our way into a casino when the kids were in bed at night. And somehow this guy always made money, and I never saw it. We get to the end of the night and he had a pocket full of chips, and I never saw him win it while we were playing. I'm, how the hell did you get all that? Where did all that come from? I've been sitting with you for 5 hours. And he said, you didn't notice it, but every hand I won, I put a chip in my pocket. And at the end of the night, he was able to cash out. And I think there's an important lesson to be learned there, that taking chips off the table and cashing out at the window is what allows you to leave the casino a winner. You may be the greatest poker player or blackjack player in the history of that casino, but in the end, numbers will get you. The odds will get you. And the corrections will get you. And so taking money off the table, I really think, is what people are trying to do, JC. And it's not everyone, but I will tell you there are a lot of people out there that are concerned that the run that they've seen to date will not continue unfettered. I don't think they're saying cryptocurrencies will come to an end.
No, they're making a trade move here to eventually come back in.
Yes. Yeah. And so taking it off the table, putting that powder dry into an asset class that is still undervalued, has no counterparty risk, and gives them the privacy that they like. I think there's just a natural correlation between the two. And without saying too much, that's pretty much what I think.
That's very good. And I think the audience can kind of read between the lines and figure out for themselves, like you said, profit is not a 4-letter word. I mean, we can, especially right now, given everything right now on the world stage, geopolitical, financial, the war beating drums right now, removing counterparty risks and just taking some stuff off the table and leaving some powder dry here to be able to be nimble and flexible here to seize maybe opportunities that might come out of this chaos is a good idea. So yeah, absolutely. Hey, Colleen on the screen says, I just bought another 50 grand. Wow. My rep here at Miles Franklin said that a lot of the buyers are from BeyondMystic. All right. I love that.
Yeah, they really are. We're so appreciative of it. And I'd like to say to all the people out there, I've hired several new brokers and admin staff. I think our response time is a lot better, but I appreciate so much all the BeyondMystic listeners, and you are revered by these people in such a way. I feel the same way, that it's just an honor to take part in it. It's an honor to help all these people. I love seeing the compliments. We work real hard at it. We try real hard, and your listeners have a special place with us. So thank you, all of you out there, and thank you, JC. It means a lot to me, and we hope to continue to.
Well, I have to echo the sentiment. I absolutely love working with you. You're a stand-up guy, and I keep seeing the comments here how people love Andy and how straightforward he is, and I love your business approach also. And I have to say, with respect to the clientele as well, I keep doing these surveys to see if they're happy with service, and Ross Franklin has treated them, and it's always stellar. We've had a few issues here and there where people weren't getting emails. It's going to black holes or like their spam folder. But for the most part, you guys are delivering on cue as promised, on price, and everybody's extremely happy. Let's talk about this just before the show here. You're running out of the silver maples, I believe. You have another special for this week that we can give the audience today. Let's talk about also these COMEX bars. We put this up, or you suggested this a week ago, and I said, I'm not sure, Andy. But still, right now, what we're seeing is there's a lot of people looking to buy bulk silver. They've been doing the smaller stuff before, and now they have all of this paper that they're worried is going to burn in the banks here. So they're getting into the bulk as well. So let's talk about the bulk silver here, and also what new products you might offer to the audience at smaller denominations for the people who might just be starting here.
Yeah, those maples have actually, the premiums have bumped up. We sold out. We had to buy more. They're at $550 right now. The COMEX bars are still available at that price.
Okay.
They're pretty neat. If people who, like, if you have a big position in an ETF, sell it, buy the physical, buy in 1,000-ounce bars. I just think that it's important to own physical in the world we live in. Again, the word counterparty risk, remove that counterparty risk as much as you possibly can. I will be able to send to you the images. It's been an unusual week. I've had literally my house filled with my wife's entire family. My mother-in-law's been here for 2 weeks. I know she's not listening to this right now, but she's gone. Thank God. It's been crazy. And her sister. And
I think a lot of people sympathize with you, having just gone through the whole
so anyways, what we are offering on special right now are the 2022 Noah's Ark. They're in stock. They are in our warehouse. And we also have the 2022. And by the way, those are $3.75 over silver spot. And here's a first. I've never held in my hand a 1/4 ounce silver coin made by a government. And they also have the 2022 1/4 ounce Noah's Ark. And they come in really cool boxes, little wood boxes of 500 coins. This is from the government of Armenia, but they're made by the Geiger Mint in Germany, maybe the most prestigious mint in the world. The 1 ounce coins come in these really neat wood boxes, also made by the Geiger Mint of 500 coins. They're 2022. They are in stock. The 1/4 ounce are $2.45 a coin over melt value. So you take the price of silver, you divide it by 4 and add $2.45. They're more expensive, but they cost a whole heck of a lot more to buy. Now, I'd like to make this in comparison. People call and they say, I want to buy stuff for, and you and I have talked about this before too, they want to buy something to perhaps trade with or have utility, and that's junk silver. Pre-1965 dimes and quarters. Those are at the highest premiums I've seen in 30 years. Yeah. And buying the 1/4 ounce Noah's Ark is akin to that type of ideology. I've never seen a 1/4 ounce silver coin in 30 years that I've done this made by a government mint. They're awesome. So people are looking for utility. It's the 1/4 ounce Noah's Ark. I think it's a better buy than the pre-65 silver. One of the things I like about it, it's clearly marked 1/4 ounce pure silver, whereas I've sold $1 million worth of pre-65 silver to people before, and they couldn't tell me to save their life how much silver is in a dime.
Yeah, if they're not educated, they don't know. It doesn't say in the coin.
Right. Yeah. So anyways, that's what we have on special. I will send you, hopefully later on this afternoon, so you can put it on your site, the images.
Okay, and just so you know, folks, if you're interested in that right now too, just fill out the form here at beyondmystic.net/silver and just let Andy know, hey, I'm looking for those 1/4 ounce Noah's Ark or whatever it is in the comment section here, and they'll get back to you. Now, I wanted to show you this poster here as well. Hold on a second. I brought these up. These, you and I, we had these. These were the 2021,
that
right?
was the 2021. Yeah, it's the same box. It's the same coin.
Okay.
And they are 2022, and they are in stock. And before I forget, there are a couple people here in the comments that are saying waiting for the Beyond Mystic silver. Do you have that picture I texted you today? Can you pull that up?
Yeah, hold on a second here. Caught me with my pants down, Andy. There you go.
That just landed. Now, we bought that a long time ago. It sat, those container ships that you see sitting all over, sitting in a container ship for God knows how long. That is the machine. That is our warehouse. You can see the green mint boxes back there and some up in the top right there. But
hey, somebody was just asking also, just quickly on the mint, do you still have those American Eagles from the San Francisco Mint or no?
I do. I probably have 30 or 40 boxes of the San Francisco Mint at $9.50 over.
Okay.
I have a lot of backdate Silver Eagles at $9 over. The 2021 San Francisco to me is a for a collector it's awesome.
Cool.
They're incredibly small mintage. But that machine right there is our 10-ounce and kilo bar maker. Later within a month or two, we hope to have the 1-ounce piece that goes on to this machine that will allow us to make rounds. But I promise you, the first bar that I will make will be the 10-ounce BeyondMystic bar. I need an image from you, and I will get that done. That is actually unpacked and in our warehouse today. Finally.
I actually spoke to my graphic designer today about tweaking the last model. So we're pretty close. I'm excited for this, Andy. And as soon as you sent me this today, I'm like, oh, isn't that fortuitous that today I was talking about this with their graphic designer. So I'm looking forward to that. All right.
Well, it's finally here. A lot of the things that, there's been so many delays lately, whether you're buying furniture or waiting for a machine to come from Italy, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. The delays are extraordinary, and but we're excited to learn how to use it. We have someone flying from Europe to show us how to use it here this week to get it up and running. We have all the silver shot we need to start making the bars. Now we just need to start making them. So I promise all of you out there, by the first month in January, or the first month of the new year in January, if not sooner, we will be selling BeyondMystic 10-ounce silver bars.
I'm looking forward to it. Speaking also of the BeyondMystic audience, we have quite a few people here in Canada, and Jim Humphrey here is asking, hey, when are the Canadian sales directly from Canada, from Miles Franklin, going to be available? Can you give us a little bit of update on that? I know you're so close, Andy.
Yes. So we have, for the last 2 weeks, been taking orders for $10,000 Canadian or more. And because the website has not quite been finished yet, we expect the website maybe to be done today, tomorrow, early next week, which will open it up to any order. Right. The reason we haven't, we stopped it at 10,000 or started it at 10,000 for people who have talked to us, we just didn't have the ability through the way that it was currently set up to take all sorts of orders, small orders and whatnot. It would have been a nightmare. So we said $10,000 or more, we'll start taking it in Canadian, because we didn't have any reference for the people to see the product we were selling or any of that stuff. Right. It's not a very efficient model. For people out there who do want to spend more than $10,000, I spoke with one of your personal friends last night and took care of her. But we expect for sure this time next week, the website will be up and running. And when I come back next week, I will give you the website address and tell people to go at it and offer your people a special. All of your people will have special codes to get special prices and products that we offer specifically to BeyondMystic listeners.
Awesome.
We're going through the very final touches, the beta testing of the website. So.
Okay.
Again,
and you and I have been talking about this for the last 2 weeks. We almost did it once or twice. I'm like, Andy, if we're gonna do it right, let's do it right the first time. So take your time, and I think the audience will appreciate that too. That there's very little or to no hiccups here as we launched this. So that's
I appreciate everyone's patience. If I have a fault, it's I get a little too excited to talk about something before it actually happens. But to my friend Rob out there, who it's a deep sense of gratitude and appreciation for all the work that he's done to help us get this up and running, and we're almost there. We can take orders for 10,000 or more in Canadian dollars, but by this time next week, we will have I believe, the website officially up and running to take any size order in Canadian dollars with special codes specifically for BeyondMystic listeners.
Awesome. Well, That's it for today. That's a great update. Thank you so much.
I'd
Andy,
like to
for your
sit and
time.
talk all night, JC, but I know you're busy and
Yeah, I got two more
gotta
shows
run
to do
too,
today.
but it's always great to see you, man. And one of these days, we will actually get to have that dinner at Cue de Cheval, as we've talked about before.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to coming up and seeing you in Montreal. Hopefully, I'm hoping March or April when we do our audit at Brinks. Now that we can get across the border, you will be first on my list to come and say hello to.
Very quickly, I have a few minutes. Do you want to talk about your vaulting services? I believe you have Toronto and Montreal also for Canadians. Talk about that a little bit here before we go.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have Brinks storage facilities in Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. We have worldwide exclusives with Brinks in Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. We have the only fixed rate program in all of North America, and the only one that Brinks has ever given. We have the only safe deposit box program in Toronto and Vancouver, fully segregated, where they're brand new 1-key boxes, where state of the art, where, you know, normal safe deposit boxes, there's 2 keys. You put one in, the bank puts one in. These are 1-key boxes where you hold the only key and the only spare. Most importantly for Americans, the IRS has really been somewhat coy about what is reportable and what isn't reportable offshore. And the terms that they had always given were directly held in a non-financial institution. Now, we know Brinks is a non-financial institution. That way, if it's directly held in a non-financial institution, there's no reporting to the federal government whatsoever. And we asked them for years, what do you mean by directly held? We always assumed directly held was segregated and audited and completely allocated to this person. There's no pooling whatsoever. And we are incredibly redundant in the way we store things. Even if it's 50 mint boxes of silver, they are palletized with straps around them specifically to that one person, specifically. And that, as far as I'm concerned, is directly held. Well, the IRS, after repeated requests for clarification, came back and said, well, we reserve the right to not answer, of course. But about 5 years ago, they came out and said, well, directly held, precious metals held offshore do not need to be reported to the government if they are directly held in a non-financial institution. And the example that they gave was a safe deposit box. So the minute that happened, we ran to Brinks. We parlayed our at that point, 6 or 7 year history with them. And we designed a safe deposit box program that's in Toronto and Vancouver, in the back of the vault, affixed to the vault. It's the only one in North America. It's the only one that they offer, and we have an exclusive on it. And so for people looking to get metal out of the country into Canada privately with no reporting to the federal government, whether it be segregated and audited by a third-party auditor or in a safe deposit box, there's nothing like it. We have the only fixed rate program where it's based on the number of ounces held, not the value. In Vegas parlance, it's betting on the come. If you think the prices are going to go sky high in metals, then a fixed rate program is the best way to own it, because it's not going to go higher. So, and so the reason I would come to Montreal and visit you is that for the last 10 years, with the exception of the last 2, I have gone to every single audit in Montreal, and it might be my favorite city in North America. And I just am sad that I haven't been able to get up there and have dinner with you yet, but it's coming. But for anyone who wants information on that, we have 2 websites. The Brinks wanted specific websites. One is Precious Metal, singular, storage.net, preciousmetalstorage.net, and the other is privatesafedepositboxes.net, privatesafedepositboxes.net. That's our precious metal storage website, and the other is privatesafedepositboxes.net. And anyone who's interested in that, let us know. Now that we have the new Canadian program up and running, delivering product, it will be seamless, costless. It'll be great. So in any case, JC, thanks for letting me talk about that. And just, it's great to see you. That's it right there. And it's great to see you. And
Well, you're very welcome. And folks, I wasn't prepared for the slide deck for these two shows, for these two specific links. So right after the show, I'll pin that to the top of the page. And so if you're interested in vaulting, I know judging by Colleen here, who's buying $50,000 increments here, at some point she might run out of room at home. So it might be good to spread that around a little bit here and looking into some of these private vaulting services. So thank you so much, Andy. I really appreciate that. Guys, this was the weekly Precious Metals Weekend Review with Andy SCHECTMAN. Join me later tonight here on Beyond Mystic for the Wacky Woo. No, it's the Quantum Woo. Wait, I can't find it. Where'd it go? The Quantum Woo at 8 o'clock Eastern. Yes, and then I'll be taking a few days off, and I'll be back on Monday for you guys. So thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Au revoir.